the three-fingered hand with the thumb, because you've got to learn to draw it and lose a finger there. So definitely practice with that. And here I'm going to tear off the shirt, so I'm just going to add a bit more raggedness to the costume, but mainly just to the shirt here, just to, you know, just age it up slightly, so not too much detail, and adding that kind of inside part of the sleeve to the shirt just adds to the overall perspective of the arm coming towards you, so we can see inside the shirt there a little bit. So I think it just strengthens the design just a little bit there. And that was very simple shapes. It was just literally two V shapes you can see there we drew into the sleeve. Okay, so I've combined the layers together there, so everything's all on one layer, and just piecing in this part of the torso now. And another afterthought here, thinking about the design, so let's tear away the shirt just a little bit here. So on both sides of the character we've got these kind of tears in the shirt. We want to keep things a little bit uneven, so, you know, try and mix and match the kind of tears and the bits and pieces hanging off, you know, kind of keep everything uneven, so you've got something happening on one side and something different on another, and so on. Don't try and be too even across both sides of the character. For instance, the ears there, we've got one normal, one hanging off, one arm that's come off and another that's still there. Okay, so just quickly going over details, just fiddling around now and casting an eye over the design. Okay, so what I want to do now is just take a quick look at the design here. I'm fairly happy with it, but what I want to do here is just go in and take a look at this new hand that we drew. I just want to fiddle around with the placement of the thumb just a tiny bit. So I'm back to the transform tool here. So if you're on the Mac, the shortcut is Command T, and I think on the PC it's Control T. So I'm just moving the placement around a little bit, just seeing if I can get a better position overall. Okay, so just deselecting and just piecing that in with the brush tool there. So again, we're not committed to this. Once, even when we're inking the piece, we can make changes. And this here, I just want to kind of show that it's attached to the head, that line cutting it off. I just wanted to remove that, just to show that it's kind of hanging off a bit better there. Okay, so we've got the two versions there, so they're both fine, but I just wanted to play around with that idea of the arm reaching out, which I think worked. So we've got two versions now. We could choose to amend the previous one into a different character if we change the facial features and the clothing a little bit. But this is the overall design. I'm happy with that, and at this point I'm more than happy to go on and ink the piece. Okay, let's move on to a new character. So again, just creating a new layer here, and just starting with the basic shapes again, working with a nice big oval here, kind of hunched over. I'm looking to draw an old lady here, so I'm thinking about the kind of bent over shape here in general that some older people can have. So I'm just going to play with that idea in the zombie realm. So with the head here, I've got this kind of perched over on the top of the oval. So very basic shapes here. We've got a circle, like an oval, and some very small cylinders for the legs there. Even the arms here, just very simple shapes, almost like rectangles that are kind of coned outwards, just to give this sleeve effect. And then just for the moment, some circles for hands. So I'm just kind of plotting out the very simple form of the character. Again, just thinking about silhouettes, strengthening the design and so on. And here what I've done, I'm just sketching in the hand on the back here. sometimes you see old people that have a bad back and they walk along actually holding their back, as if to try and help with the discomfort a little bit. So I just wanted to play with that with the character. I mean, zombies move along very slowly, so I just thought, why not keep the trait in this character? So even though she's a zombie, she's still having back trouble. So I just thought that was quite a good cartoony idea to have in with a character. Okay, so here, just roughing in the hand here. So she's going to have a walking stick as well. So just plotting in the fingers here. Very simple shapes again. Just playing with the form there. Lengthening out the sleeve just a little bit. I just want to move up the position of the arm just a little bit low there for the shoulder. So I'm just going to select the arm and just move it in a little bit. Just try and position it using the transform tool again. So a very handy tool to use at this point. And here I can just erase this piece that we don't need. So this will be the left arm coming out from behind the body. Thickening up the legs, so they're more almost trunk-like. They're very kind of squat little legs there. Okay, so just very roughly dropping in some details here. So you can see I can kind of bounce around between different areas. There's no set formula. I like to throw down the basic shapes and then come in and just kind of almost bounce around areas as I see them. So here I just went from the ear over to the arm and so on. So just kind of look over your design all the time at certain areas. Try and strengthen it with every move. So here I'm just adding on some small feet. I think what I'm going to do here is give the character some slippers. So it's almost like she's gone out in maybe a nightdress and slippers. And the walking stick here I thought would be a nice idea to change this up, add a bit of humour to this, and make the walking stick a bone. So, you know, I'm not sure where she got a bone this size from, but I just thought, you know, this would be a really good kind of little addition to the overall character. We've got the zombie that's still got a bad back, and she's using a bone for a walking stick. So I just thought, you know, just gives an extra bit of humour to the character overall. So just thinking about the features I want to place on this now. I want to almost certainly zombify up some feature here and there. I didn't really want to go overboard with tearing up too much. I didn't want to remove any limbs as such, because I wanted to play with that idea of the bad back and use the other arm for a walking stick. So I didn't really want to remove anything from the character as such. So I'm just giving her a big hairstyle there, kind of like it's permed, and we might put what's called a blue rinse in there, so it'd be like this kind of blue colour that some old ladies tend to favour. Just putting in some kind of gaunt cheekbones in there, just to add to the zombie feel there. You sometimes see these zombies, they've got very deep sunken cheekbones. Playing with the size of the hair, just want to bring that out just a little bit. Okay, so we're looking good so far. I'm happy with the initial sketch there. Okay, so what we're going to do now is take the opacity down on this layer so we can trace over it. So a new layer again, change the brush tool to a blue colour, so we've got some contrast against the original drawing there. So I'm just starting wherever I feel like I want to start, so just coming in with the cheekbones here. I quite like the shape that we've got there. It's kind of like this rounded front on the entire head, so I think that's quite a nice shape we've got there overall on the face. So just feathering away with the brush tool there, trying to neaten things up. A couple of whiskers on the chin there. Thought that was be a quite fun idea to put in there. Okay, so just dropping in a heavy eyelid and put the pupil in. add in a bag under the eye there. So with the eye, what I'll do is, rather than make that, give that a white of the eye, I'll probably change that to something like yellow. So maybe we could have yellows and reds in the eye to contrast with the green of the skin. And I think also having the hair, as I say, maybe this kind of blue rinse colour, or maybe something in a kind of purple hue would be nice, because that kind of go along with the green tint of the skin. So I think maybe we'll go for a kind of lavender, kind of purplish violet colour in the hair there, but very, very light, kind of like a more of a pastel-y colour in there. Okay, so I'm just finishing off the form of the hair there. So it's kind of like a perm, so you don't want too many bumps in there. Just a few rounded shapes in there is enough to suggest that. And with this eye, what I'm doing is taking that out entirely. So, you know, we've just got this eye socket, but making it cartoony. You can just see it's hollowed out. There's no gore as such in there. As I was saying before, I don't want to get carried away with, you know, kind of making things too nasty in the design. I just want them to be humorous, but in keeping with the zombie theme there. Just adding some funny lipstick onto the character there. We could even add a touch of rouge to the cheekbones there, you know, kind of like this pinkish hue on top of the skin colour, so we've still got this kind of makeup effect on the face. Okay, so I'm just kind of feathering away on the shape here. You can see I'm almost drawing through the hand there with the motion. I'm not pressing down with the pen there, I'm just motioning through to make sure I get a nice consistent line. And you'll notice at the bottom of the dress there's just a couple of swooping lines that just indicates that there's a slight crease in the clothing. So with this style of cartooning, you've got very few simple shapes, so you don't want to get carried away with putting too many creases in the clothing. Just a few here and there is enough. So coming down into the sleeve, and we're just going to kind of polish off the shape of this hand now. So we're giving us some fingernails here. So again, we could add some kind of colour to the nails there. Maybe we can, you know, drop in a light pink in there. Again, that will contrast well with the bluish green of the skin that we're going to add on there. And with the bone, when we come to colouring the bone, I think I'd be tempted to go off-white with that. I wouldn't use an entire pure white for that. Simply because if I use a very, very off-white, just slightly, I then have the option to add a pure white highlight to give a sense of kind of reflection, like a reflective surface. So we could do that. So maybe we'll make the bone just a very, very pale yellow. Okay, so we're looking good so far, so I'm happy with that. So again, just turning on and off the original sketch layer just to see how clean the design is coming along there. So just add in an inside design to the sleeve just to add a bit of perspective there, and almost like a bite mark out of the clothing there. So as I said, I'm not getting too carried away with details with creases in the clothing and rips and tears and so on. Okay, so just outlining this hand now. And this is a nice swooping curve from the wrist into the sleeve. So you'll see that's one line going from the top of the arm through the wrist down to the hand. Okay, so just swooping along the bottom here on this. I don't think I'll add the kind of frilly design at the bottom of this dress. I think I want to keep it just a touch more simple.